Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a very exciting topic, which is ethical hacking. We're going to specifically talk about an attack called as a phishing attack, which is used by a lot of hackers to steal sensitive information from your account, like user ID, password, or confidential personal information or credit card details, you name it. So let's see how this attack works. So generally, what you see on the screen is a sample email that you would receive from the hacker. The hacker claims that there is some sort of a reward and you have to log in. The reward is limited to the first 10 users or 100 users, and you have to log in immediately to claim that reward. So the users who are not aware of these sort of attacks, who cannot resist temptation, they try to log in quickly and accidentally give away their sensitive details. So let's see how this works. So if I'm someone who's not aware of these sort of attacks, I would try to access it by clicking here, and wow, this page looks exactly like Binance. So but if you look at the URL, it's different. But someone who's not aware of these things would try to log in immediately. So let's see how this attack works real time. So I try to enter my credentials like abc@xyz.com, whatever, and I enter my password. Okay, and I try to log in, and when I log in, nothing works, right? And if you look at the URL, I'm being redirected to the original Binance URL. So the user is still doesn't know what happened, right? He still thinks that he's still on the Binance web page. But what happened is, if I go to the server and if I go to my login details, you see this, I was able to steal the details, the ID and password from that user, and the user is not even aware of it. So let's see how this attack works in action, and I'm going to show you I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step details of how this attack works. And my main intent in making this video is not to advocate any sort of hacking or any sort of illegal activity. The reason I'm making this video is to educate you so that you are fully aware of how these attacks work, so that you can be more vigilant and even more resilient to these sort of attacks. All right. If you have any bad faith or bad intentions, I suggest you to not watch this video. And I'm not responsible for any sort of attacks. I suggest you to treat this purely for educational purpose. Okay, let's get started. Okay, this is how the attack is structured. So from your email account, the hacker routes you to a fake page, a fictitious page which looks exactly like the real page, and the user is forced to enter their credentials on this fake page. And as soon as the user hits login, the user is redirected to the real page. And the reason this is done is to give the user an illusion that he is still on the real page. And when this is done, the user is generally not aware that his credentials are stolen. Okay, and what the hacker does is, from the fake page, the credentials are sent to a server to be stored on a local file. So this is how the attack works. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to create this server and the fake page and set up this entire hack, so that you are aware how this works behind the scenes. Okay, the first thing we should do is we have to download the Binance web page, because our fake page should look exactly like the Binance page. So I have the page downloaded over here. So I'm using brackets as my text editor, and it's already pointed to the code folder. So this is my Binance web page. So this is my fake page. Okay, after I have the page, let's create the node server to store the credentials, and then we'll come back to this page to inject the client-side code for this hack. Okay, I'm going to build the node server in this folder. I'm using brackets as my text editor, and it's already pointed to this folder. Okay, and first I'm going to go to this server, to go to this folder. Okay, first let's initialize packages.json file. So npm init. Okay, then we have to install a couple of modules that are required to create the server. First, I need CORS, Then I need another package which is express. When I run this command, it installs that package in that folder, in the code folder. Okay, installation is finished. Let's go back to the folder and let me minimize these pages. If you look at packages.json, this is our main file, index.js file. So let's create the index.js file. Okay, rename index.js. Okay, so first we need to import the required modules. So I need fs to store the details in a local file. Then I need CORS. This is to enable cross origin request. Next I need express. Then I need URL. Because URL is a global module, I don't need to install it. Same thing with fs. Then let's create the server. Okay, the server is created. Let's start the server and see if it's working fine or not. Okay, everything seems to work fine. Let's terminate the server for now and go back to the code. Okay, first I want to add the CORS header to all my requests. Then I'm going to create a path, an API that I can call from the client side code to store the credentials. So this store data is the path where I'm going to store, that I'm going to call from the client side code to store the credentials. I'm going to use URL to extract the email ID and password that I receive from this API. I'm going to store the user ID and password in this toSave variable. Then I'm going to append this variable to a local file. So let me first create that local file. So new file, I'll call it login details.txt. it's a text file, okay, and this /n is a new line character. This append file takes in 3 parameters. First parameter is the file where the data has to be stored. Second parameter is the data itself. Third parameter is the function to be executed after, so this is a callback function. So this happens asynchronously. So the callback function gets executed after the data is being stored. To quickly summarize what we did, we created an API to store the data that we get from the client-side code, and in that API, we are just extracting the username and password, and we are storing the details in the login details.txt file. We are almost done with the code. One last thing that we have to do is to write the code to fetch the fake page that we created when the user clicks on that URL. So to do that, we can do that in just one line of code. So when we write this statement, the program looks for this pages folder, and inside the pages folder, it looks for index.html file, and it automatically fetches that fake page when the user executes that URL. So let's save it and restart the server and see if it works or not. I'm on the website. I'll open 127. Yeah. Awesome. So we are able to open the fake page. Now let's write the client-side code. To write the client-side code, I'm going to go to the HTML file, which is a fake page, which is index.html. Let me go back to this server, and I need to open developer tools to show a few things. First, we need to capture email ID and password. So we want to know the ID of this email address. To know that, do a right click and click on inspect. Okay. This gives us the ID. ID is email, you can see here. And do the same thing for password. Do a right click and inspect. The ID for the password field is PWD. Okay. And let me inspect login. That's the button. And this is submit button. So let's go back to the code and let's go to the submit button. Yes, this is the one. So here we'll write an on click event. Yeah. And when the user clicks on this button, we're going to run a function. Okay. Let's write this function in a script tag. So when we specify this, this function gets executed when the user clicks on the login button. Okay. Let me copy this and go towards the end, and there is already a script tag. So inside the script tag, let's define this function. Okay. In this function, we are going to capture these two variables and send it to the server using store data API. And after we send the data, we are going to reroute the user to the original Binance web page. So let's do that. Now let's write the code to make the API call. So This takes in two parameters. First one is the method. It's a post method. If you go back to the server, you can see it's a post method. So it's a post, and then we have to pass the URL. Go to the server. This is the URL. Copy this, paste it here, and store data API. Then the first parameter is uname and the second parameter is PWD. Okay, so uname is equal to ampersand PWD is equal to. So let's get the username first. You can access the elements using document.getElementById .value. We saw earlier that the ID is email and the second one, the ID is PWD. Let me copy this. We don't have to write the then module because we are not really doing anything with the response back from the server. Then we have to reroute the user to the actual Binance login page. So to do that, window.location.assign this is the URL. So I'm just pasting it here. That's it. We are finished. So let's close this and restart the server and see if it works or not. I'll close this as well. The server is started. Now this is the URL that we'll send to the user. If the user reloads the page, okay, we're able to open the page. Now let me enter something. akash@gmail.com, whatever, and password Mufasa, whatever, Mufasa Pumba 1234, whatever. Click on login. Now you can see that the user is redirected back to the Binance login page. Now let's see if this details are stored or not. If I go to login details, wow, the details are stored. So it works. That's how the hack works. That's how the hack is done. So let's go back to the flowchart. Okay, let's summarize what we did earlier with the code. So we created a server, and in that server we created a route to store the data, and in that route we stored the data that we get on a local file, the login details file, and we also created a fake page. And we called that API to send the user ID and password, and after we send that, we redirected the user to the real login page. Okay, so that's how the hack is executed. Now let's talk about some best practices that we can follow to protect ourselves from these sort of hacks. Again, just to reiterate, my intent in making this video is to educate you so that you are fully aware of how these hacks are executed, and with this information you can be more vigilant and more proactive in identifying these sort of hacks. Okay, so let's talk about some best practices or techniques that you can follow to protect yourself from these sort of hacks. The first, you can bookmark the original website, in this case the Binance website, when you log in. So you may not, it's not possible to do this for every single website that you use, but whenever you're using a website that is that contains some sort of sensitive information and can have any financial or identity theft related data or consequence, then I advise you to bookmark those websites. Second thing you can do is use two-factor authentication. This is a bit more convenient because even if the hacker has your ID and password, if the hacker doesn't have the two-factor authentication code, the hacker cannot log into your account. So I always recommend to use two-factor authentication because it's convenient and it just adds that extra layer of security to protect your account. Okay. And third, if you happen to accidentally log in and give away your ID and password, then the first thing to do is to change your password as quickly as possible to a different one, and you have to have the password that is totally different from the old one. So generally users have a tendency to have a specific pattern for your password. So let's say if your old password is Mufasa 1, then your new password is Mufasa 2. So that's just dumb. Okay, it's easy, it's very predictable, it's very easy to hack. So try and have a password that is very different from your old one. Okay, and one last control you can have is never have the same password pattern for your emails as well as Exchange. So what I mean by that is generally users have a password pattern when they set the password. Just to take the earlier example, some users have Mufasa1 as the email password and Mufasa2 as the Exchange password. So that's just, it's convenient, it's easy to remember, but it's also easy to hack. So if in the earlier example, if you happen to give away your Exchange password, then it's very easy for them to protect your email password, and you're not only exposing your Exchange account credentials, but you're also exposing all your online ID and passwords. So I strongly advise against having the same password pattern for all your websites that you use. So these are some best practices that you can follow to stay safe and secure and protect yourself from these sort of hacks. So I hope you found this informative, and I hope you got to learn something new, and talk to you in the next one. Bye for now.